I'm recording.
Okay. Well, if God is holy, and it says, and Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount that you must be holy as I am holy. That means we are to be like God. Unfortunately, though, to be holy like God means to be holy, or it means for us to be us, which is so much lower than God, to be up to God. That's like asking dirt to go around and walk and do everything a human does. It's just not possible. So if God is holy, and he tells us to be holy like God, or like himself, I guess, it's basically a hopeless case that we will never reach what we need to reach, what he is asking us to. Thankfully, though, we have Jesus and all that stuff, so yeah.
Now you are.
I'm going? Okay. Based on God's holiness, people need to be able to accept all things given to them by him. God, the ultimate and sovereign creator, Lord, etc., of the universe, sends both blessings and obstacles to people in order to fulfill his plan for us. Oftentimes, these things God gives us mess up the plans that we have made up for ourselves, for our lives, for our own lives. We fail to realize that God has laid out every moment of naturally one person's life, but the entire world. Oh, not only one person's life, but the entire world. God does not wish harm upon anybody, any of his creation, but gives people stuff in their lives to help them further appreciate his holiness, and peace to them that through him all things are possible. I don't know what that said.
Yep.
There's no one as holy as he is. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one can judge him. No one can rule over him. He is the ruler of all mankind. He has no mistake and does not sin. His presence makes all of us holy.
A couple things come to mind when I think of the implications of God's holiness. One is, if God is holy, then our tendency to perceive God as this buddy Jesus character is very wrong-headed. Jesus is first and foremost divine and other than, beyond, of such a nature and goodness that we cannot even conceive, much less touch, much less grasp, just how grand he is. And so to try to reduce that to some buddy Jesus who is, who wears torn jeans and doesn't really care much how I live my life as long as he can give me a good pat on the back and a helping hand, that's too demeaning to God. Now, that's not to say God isn't close and relational and personal, but the holiness seems to speak to me about his transcendence, not about his immanence. One other implication I can think of is how the fact of God's immanence is so remarkable precisely because of his holiness and transcendence. He is so much beyond us that his closeness to us is that much more of a reward, that much more special. It's one thing to say God is my dad. It's another thing to say my dad's the king. If we don't understand how grand and glorious God is, then the fact that we're invited into his family, it doesn't mean that much. But it means a whole lot if we recognize that the King of the universe invites a relationship with us where we can be his children. That's pretty impressive, and I think that's a powerful implication from his holiness.
Okay, I am recording.
The holiness of God. The word holiness means to be set apart for a special purpose. God is set apart from his creation. In fact, we see in Revelation where the creatures at the throne cry, holy, holy, holy. So God is set apart, set apart, set apart. It took Jesus Christ to bridge the gap between God and man. When man fell, man could not approach God. So we see in Jesus Christ the very image of God, the holiness of God. Jesus was sinless in his life. He did not sin. But he felt the emotions we feel today. He felt our suffering. He felt our sorrow. He saw sickness. He healed the diseased. He saw the demon possessed and drove out the demons. So he is not without any experience what we experience, and even experienced death, some things that we have not yet experienced but will one day. So when we talk about the holiness of God, we're talking about God's separation from man and how Christ bridged the gap as being man and God, so that we can walk in this life of holiness. In fact, we're called to be not a part of this world, but to be separate from it, to be a peculiar people, a strange people, different than what is in the world. So when we talk about the holiness of God and the holiness of man, we're talking about a mission, a particular mission that we are to fulfill. That is, to build the kingdom of God on earth, to prepare for the coming of His Son, and to celebrate all those things that we have ahead. This makes us complete in the holiness of God.
No, I'm not recording.
Is Amber recording right now?
I think
Yes.
so. Be like a man, say it.
Do you like man?
So just.
What? I don't like being on video.
Yes, you do.
No, my voice sounds really muzzled.
I told you, it's like garlic.
Oh, there's fish one bit.
You want to see the video?
All right, start when you want.
Okay, I think because God was holy, that makes Jesus holy, because they were the same being. And beyond that, I have no idea. So.
Okay, you can start.
Based.
God's
You skipped on. Holiness.
people
Need.
to
Be.
able
To.
accept
All.
things
Given.
to
Them.
by
Him.
God.
The.
Ultimate,
And. Sovereign.
sovereign, creator
Lord. Etc.
of
The.
universe.
Sins.
Both
Blessings.
obstacles
And obstacles.
and
Two
obstacles.
people. Two people.
And cut. We need to rehearse.